you exercise. They just practice this every day until it becomes as automatic as breathing in and breathing out. Number one quality, top quality, is that top salespeople are ambitious. They want to be successful. They see selling as a way of achieving their goals. They're ambitious, they're driven, they're determined, they want things. They're hungry. And the very best word I've ever found in studying successful people is hungry. They're hungry, they want it. There's nothing worse than a person trying to succeed in a field surrounded by hungry people and they're not hungry. If you're really ambitious and they see themselves capable of being the best. They see themselves capable of being the best. And this is your goal. And I tell you, when I was a young person, I had this whole idea of being the best was an overwhelming thought to me. Because what I learned is that if you're going to be successful, you have to be in the top 10%. Now, fortunately, everyone here is either in the top 10% or you intend to be. Is that correct? Yes. Say yes. Yes. All right. So, even if you're not there yet, you intend to be. Remember, future intent determines present action. If you've decided to be in the top 10%, then the only question you ask is how? How do I get there? What I have found is that making a decision to be in the top 10% is the turning point in your life. And when I heard this, and by the way, remember the old question, why did Willie Sutton rob banks? That's where the money is. That's where the money is. Well, why do you want to be in the top 10%? That's where the money is, all right? And if somebody has to be in the top 10%, somebody has to be in the bottom 10%. And you can choose. If you have a choice, you can choose to be in the top 10% or the medium 10% or the bottom 10%. So if you have a choose, you might as well choose to be in the top 10%, right? Say yes. Yes. All right. So then the only question is how. Now, when I was a young man, what I learned when I heard this, I was really kind of overwhelmed by it because I had low self-esteem, I had low self-confidence, I had bombed out of school, I hadn't graduated, I worked at laboring jobs for years, and they told me, you know, if you really want to be successful, you have to be in the top 10 or 20%. And I thought, oh, I could never do that. I've never been in the top 10 or 20% in my life. I was started off so far behind, I thought I was first. And then I learned something that changed my life. I learned that everybody who's in the top 10% started in the bottom 10%. Everybody who was doing well was once doing poorly. Everybody who was at the top of your field, our field, was at one time not even in our field and didn't even know that it existed. And nobody's smarter than you, and nobody's better than you. They got into the field, they say, how do you succeed in this field? They asked other people, they read the books, they came to the courses, they practiced it over and over again, they got onto the high road, and they went to the top of their field. Then what you do is you make a decision to be in the top 10%, then the only question you ask is how. So, ambition is the starting point. Is you find that ambition is a great quality. Ambition is the driving engine of all success. Be ambitious for your kids, ambitious for your family, ambitious for your health, ambitious for your career, which just means that you want to make it better and better and better, and you're willing to work for it. So the second quality of top salespeople is that they're courageous. They're courageous because we know that the number one obstacle to success is fear. Number one obstacle to success is fear. Fear triggers low self-confidence. Fear causes us to hold back. Fear causes us to sell ourselves short. Fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of criticism, fear of embarrassment. Fear is and always has been our biggest enemy. And what top salespeople have learned is the only way that you can succeed is to confront the fear. Do the thing you fear. The only way that you can overcome a fear is by doing the thing that you're afraid of. Now, what is the biggest fear that we have in selling? Biggest fear we have in selling is fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of call reluctance. If you had absolutely no fear of calling on people, you'd be a selling machine. And the more people you call on, the more people you would talk to, the more people you talk to, the better you get, the better you've got, the more sales you'd make, the more eager you'd be, the more motivated you'd be to talk to even more people, you get onto an upward spiral. But it's fear of rejection. So when I was a young man, I learned two things. The first thing I learned is the only way to deal with the fears is to do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Confront the fear. What I learned, it was a very important insight, is that you do the thing and the courage comes afterwards. You do the thing and the courage comes afterwards. I used to sit and wait and wait and wait. When I have enough confidence, when I feel really good, when I've studied my materials long enough, when I have really got myself revved up, then I'll go out and make calls. But that's not the way it works. What you do is you get a minimum amount of information and make your first call. You, just like a dog going after a passing car, you just throw yourself at the market. And here's the second thing. Here's the second thing that I learned, and it's this, is that rejection is not personal. And it was a turning point for me. Rejection is not personal. What is your name, sir?
Fred.
Fred, have we ever met before?
No.
If I reject you, it's not personal because I don't even know you. So if I reject you, it's just a commercial response. Human beings, people in our society are confronted with 2,000 to 4,000 commercial approaches. Sales, radio, television, salespeople, billboards. 2,000 to 4,000 commercial messages a day. In order to survive, you've got to be like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. You've got to be jumping and moving all the time. So when someone calls you up, their first reaction is not interested, don't want it, don't need it, can't use it, can't afford it, not in the market right now, and I'm happy with my existing supplier. Have you heard this before? Yes, this is just a knee-jerk reaction. It's a knee-jerk reaction. Of course, it can't possibly be true, or we wouldn't be selling $12 trillion worth of stuff per year. Because if we have a $12 trillion economy, that means that $12 trillion worth of stuff is being sold. All right, so therefore, people are buying with both hands and by the trillions of dollars worth, so obviously they buy, but the natural reaction to any sales approach is rejection. And your job is to realize it's just not personal. You just let it go off your back like water off a duck's back. You just always be polite. Well, say, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Go on to the next person. You know what do they say? Some will, some won't. So what? Next. And it's just as simple as that. And once you reach the point where you have nerves of steel when it comes to prospecting, your business will double and triple because you'll have no fear of calling 10, 20 people a day. You'll have no fear of knocking on doors and calling on people and even cold calling. Now, the third quality, the third way of thinking of top salespeople is that they're committed. They're committed. You can never imagine an uncommitted person. They believe in their companies, they believe in their products and services, and they believe in themselves. They believe it. And what they say is, I love my work. I love my work. I love my work. Ooh. Say it. Say, I love my work. I love my work. Now, going back, and I jumped ahead, but going back, with regard to overcoming any fear, psychologists have found that the manifestation of fear are the words or the feeling, I can't, I can't, I can't, which paralyzes action. But you can cancel that out like throwing a switch by saying, I can do it, I can do it. I can do it. So whenever you think of prospect, you think of picking up the phone, and you think of knocking on the door, when you think of calling on someone, and that fear wells up inside of you, you can just push it all the way back down by saying, I can do it. 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 I love my work. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I love my work. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Talk to yourself like this, because we found that 95% of your emotions are determined by how you talk to yourself throughout the day. It's called your inner dialogues, that stream of consciousness going on. How you talk to yourself determines how you feel. So therefore, talk to yourself the way you want to feel. People say, well, yeah, but what if you don't love your work and you're not the best and you don't think you can do it? Isn't that lying to yourself? No, that's telling the truth. It's telling the truth in advance. You talk to yourself the way you want to be. I like myself. I can do it. I'm the best, and so on. So, I always say I love my work, and we know that caring is the critical factor. What do we say in selling? They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. There's no more effective salesperson than a person who really believes in what they're selling and really cares about their customers. And customers can pick it up like chemistry, and we want to buy from these people and buy from them again and recommend them to our friends. Today, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the warmth, the chemistry between yourself and the salesperson, or between the salesperson and yourself, is the critical factor in why people buy. And the reason they buy, University of Chicago study, is the level of conviction that you have about how good your product is. People pick that up through the skin and are influenced by your level of conviction. Have you ever heard a customer say, well, you know, what would you do in my situation? Or what, if I was your mother or brother or sister or father, would you recommend this to me? Or which one would you choose for yourself? What they're testing is your level of conviction. How much do you believe in it? How much do you believe that this is a good product? And when you say, this is my favorite, this is the one I sold to my mother, this is the one I used myself, the sale is almost made. It is amazing how easily influenced we are to buy when somebody says, this is the one I use myself. Oh, if I like you and it's the one you use yourself, well, then that's it. That answers my question. Number 4 quality is that they're professional. They're professional. They see themselves more as consultants than as salespeople. Now, this is something I learned when I was selling, moving from cold calling into appointments. Wow, real appointments, and things like that. But I learned that there is a major difference, and they've interviewed tens of thousands of customers of the top 10% of salespeople in something like 32 industries, and they've asked them, when you think of this salesperson, yourself, what words come to mind? How would you describe them? And the words that are most commonly used to describe the top salespeople is, I view him or her as a friend, I view him or her as a consultant. I view him or her more as an advisor than a salesperson. I don't really see them as trying to sell me something. They really just try to help me make a good buying decision in this area. I rely on them for good advice. So your job is to position yourself in the customer's mind as a consultant. And when you think of the word consultant, what are the words that come to your mind? You say he or she is a consultant. What words come to your mind when you hear that he's a consultant? An advisor? An expert is usually the first word. Unbiased? Yes, unbiased. Objective, good listener, counselor, guide. In other words, a consultant is seen very differently. If you say, what do you think about when you hear the word salesperson? Okay, well, pushy, aggressive, trying to sell something, make money, and so on. Your job is to position yourself in the customer's mind as a consultant. Now, how do you position yourself as a consultant in your field? And whatever you're selling, you're a consultant because you're giving advice to help the person make a good buying decision. Is that true? Say yes. Yes. Okay, so you're a consultant. So by the way, I've worked with many companies who went home after this seminar, collected all their salespeople's business cards and threw them away and reprinted them as consultant. Sales consultant, not sales advisor or sales person, but just consultant or advisor. And their sales went up. The salespeople treated themselves differently. Hey, I'm a consultant now. I also think consultants are highly paid too, right? What do they call an unemployed professional? A consultant, right? Anyway, so here's what we found. Here's how you position yourself as a consultant. Are you ready? The next time you're with a customer, you say, Mr. Prospect, and I learned this, Mr. Prospect, I'm not really here to sell you anything today. Please relax. I see myself more as a consultant than as a salesperson. And what I want to do is I want to ask you some questions and see if we can't help you achieve your goals in a cost-effective way. But I'm not really here to sell you anything. I see myself more as a consultant. And I learned this many years ago. The hardest thing of becoming a consultant, the hardest is for you to call yourself a consultant the first time. And I learned, I said, how did you become a consultant? He said, I just took a deep breath and said I was one. And here's what we find, is people accept you at your own evaluation of yourself. If you say, I'm an honest person, people say, okay, you're an honest person. They're not going to say, yeah, show me your credentials. Where's your Boy Scout badges? I mean, they don't ask you that. If you evaluate yourself to a person, I'm very punctual. They say, okay. Who's going to say, yeah, where's your time card? No, we evaluate people based on their evaluation of themselves. And then if a person says, I'm a consultant, we then sit back and we just watch to see how they behave. And if they behave like a consultant by asking us questions and listening closely to our answers and giving us advice or guidance and so on, oh, this person is genuinely a consultant because they're acting like a consultant. So people accept you at your evaluation of yourself. So from now on, tell people you're a consultant and then behave like a consultant. And seek to give them good advice, to be a helper rather than to sell them something. Just relax, and we'll talk about how to do this in the next session. It's really important. This is what changed my life. When I went from salesperson to consultant, my income just went off the board. I never went back. It was so amazing. So number 5, quality is that they're prepared. They're prepared. They carefully review every detail before every sales call. We say that preparation is the mark of the professional. And I could talk a lot about this, but the top 10% of salespeople are the best prepared. So I have to ask you a question, though. What is the most important single word in selling that determines the level of sales, your success, how many you sell, how often you resell, the referrals you get, your level of income? What is the most important single word? Yes. Well, the most important single word is credibility. It's credibility. Your credibility is everything. You know, Shakespeare once said, he who steals my purse steals trash, but who steals my good name steals all. So your credibility, or your level of trust, your level of believability in the heart and mind of the prospect is the critical factor that determines whether they deal with you. Is, do they trust you? Do they feel comfortable with you? In America, American buyers have 2 major fears, as you do. Fear number 1, common, is the fear of being taken advantage of. Because why? Why do customers have this fear? Because they have been taken advantage of in the past and they're gun shy. All right? The second fear that people have is the fear of being hustled or being manipulated, being pushed into something. And so whenever they meet a salesperson, even though they've never met you before, their instant fears are triggered. Well, somebody's going to take advantage of me and hustle me and take advantage of me in whatever order. And I say it's almost like a teeter-totter, is that when you meet the customer for the first time, their fear is high, your credibility is low or no. But as you spend time with them, the balance changes, and as your credibility goes up, their fear goes down. When their fear goes down to a certain point, they buy, and there's no problem with buying. And